Hi everyone, my name is Cynthia Henry and I am the College of Human Sciences librarian. Today we're going to learn how to use library resources for RHIM and how to use EndNote if that is something that you're interested in. So the first part of this video will cover specific resources and how to navigate to subject materials in RHIM, and then the last portion, so if you don't want to watch the EndNote part, it will be clearly defined how to use EndNote at the very end. All right, so we're going to start with this worksheet. You will be able to have this worksheet when you start to prepare for any projects or papers. We're going to talk about how to navigate this way, and this to me is just a good step-by-step. If you forget how I tell you to go, you can see it here, and there's my contact information, so feel free to reach out to me. So from library.ttu.edu, I know that's not the URL here, but if you type that in your URL bar, this screen will come up. And there's some information here. You can see that you can use OneSearch to do a search for books or articles. However, I really like at this level to be using specific databases for your subject area, and I'll show you how to navigate to those as well. If you ever needed course reserves, that's where this would be. And then eventually we will talk about EndNote down here. So I'm going to get into this personal librarian's icon, the blue icon here, click on it. Then I'm going to scroll down to Human Sciences. Now I'm going to get into Hospitality and Retail Management. And then this is a really good page for you to bookmark. And then you can do everything from this location. And we'll talk about several of these databases today. Here's all my contact information again. And also Skype, if any of y'all are using Skype for business. Anytime you see that I'm green and online, feel free to IM me if you have a question. Otherwise, you can leave a voicemail and I'll return it, or if you get me, I'll answer the phone, and then you can always email me. Then over here on the outside edges, we have some other materials, and we'll talk about that in just a second. But here in the center is where all the databases that are best for your subject area. So let's go ahead and get into Hospitality and Tourism Complete. I know our worksheet talks about Business Source Complete, and I'll show you that in just a second. So I'm going to click in here. And this is actually by the vendor EBSCO. But if you click this Show All, you can see the name of the database. And Business Source Complete works very much like this because it's a database by EBSCO as well. So the name of this database is Hospitality and Tourism Complete, not EBSCO. I like to point that out because I have a lot of students, at least one each semester, say to me, oh, I found the best article for my research, but I thought I emailed it to me and the email never came. Can you help me find that article again? And if you can tell me that you're in which database you were really in, like Hospitality and Tourism Complete, like this database, or if you can only tell me the vendor, like EBSCO. EBSCO, we probably have over 300 databases from EBSCO. That's a lot of digging. But if you know the specific name of the database, then I guarantee between the two of us we can find it. So make sure you always know what you are researching. And I typically at the graduate level tell people to get a notebook, write down the database that you're going to be using that day, write down your keywords, and then that way you can know what you have used. So let's say you're using consumer behavior. We'll look at that in just a second. But if you do consumer behavior and Hospitality and Tourism Complete, then maybe the next day you want to sit down and do that consumer behavior keyword in Business Source Complete. But maybe you don't remember, and if you have a journal, you will have all that written down so you do remember what you've done. Because sometimes you'll have 30 minutes or 45 minutes to do some research, and you don't want to waste it by trying to remember what you've tackled and what you haven't. Okay, so I typically like to use this advanced search. It's just below the search box there. I'm going to click on that. That gives me 3 boxes that I can use to put in different words. So let's do consumer behavior. I think that is a good keyword to start off with. And let's do like maybe online shopping. What do y'all think about that? I can't type this morning. And let's do a search. Let's look at a few of these limiters down here before we hit search. So peer reviewed, that is anything that is scholarly, peer reviewed, refereed, juried. All those terms are the same terminology. And what it means, it's been sent to a panel of experts in that field to be reviewed before it was published in that journal. So we'll just make sure we click that. And then now let's search. Okay, so we got down to 46. That's a little bit small. I try to keep it under 100, but let's see what we're getting, and we can maybe reassess our keywords if need be. But it's not so small at 46 that I would be concerned that we've missed something. So if I get less than 20, sometimes I would want to change a word up here to see if I could find a synonym. Now these are not very good about synonyms, but I guess we could change customer behavior to customer, well, I guess satisfaction is slightly different than behavior, but we could even do online behavior and customer. That might be slightly different than shopping. So you could just explore some keywords. If you're getting stuck and you don't know how to find some keywords, that's a good time to get with me and I can help you. You can shoot me an email and I will respond to you, or again, we could visit if we needed to. So let's go ahead and just grab this first one. It looks like a good one. I'm going to click on the title. So now we're in the record of this article. The article title is Determinants of Consumers' Attitudes Toward Online Shopping. Then we have the authors. Then we have the journal title. So this is the article title. This is the journal title. Sometimes people get confused by that, so I try to point it out. So the journal title is Journal of Transnational Management. This is from the issue of October-December 2016, Volume 21, Issue 4, page 183 to 199. Now everything that I've just mentioned should be in your citation, and we'll talk about citations a bit more in just a second, but let's finish reading this line. That means these pages cover 17 pages. That's what this means here. And then there's one diagram and 8 charts. So to create your citation, over here on the right, you can see this little yellow piece of paper, cite. Go ahead and click on that, and it will build the citation for you. You can come in and find the APA, or if you need MLA, it's down at the bottom, or whatever you're using for your what your professor has requested, the citation style that you need. Go ahead and find it here, and then you can copy and paste it into Word or an email. But remember, the hanging indentation will not stay, so you need to put that back in if that is what is required for your style. So not everyone requires it, but most do. So just remember that will not stay with that hanging indentation there. Okay, so I'm just going to close this with this little X, and I'm back on the record. And then let's talk about how journals are published. So journals can be published weekly, monthly, quarterly, seasonally. So occasionally, instead of the issue number 4, you will see it will say issue summer, issue fall, issue winter. So don't let that throw you. And a lot of times the issue number is sitting in parentheses. So if you ever see a number just sitting behind the volume number in parentheses, that's the issue number. And sometimes even the word like the fall or winter will be in those parentheses. So just be aware that that is the issue name number. Okay, so now let's scroll down just a bit more. Here's the abstract, and a nice thing that EBSCO, the vendor, does is highlight anything that is anything that is bolded as part of your keywords up here. So that is nice, and that helps your eye just kind of grab to the bolded parts to see if there's something that is useful in here. And then lastly, let's talk about these words over here. So author supplied keywords. An author knows what he or she has been writing about, but the more useful words here are these subject terms, because that's how this article was indexed into this database. So we can see consumer behavior and online shopping are part of our 2 keywords. That's why this one came up for sure. But there's some other things here. Maybe we really want to be looking at online shopping in developing countries, since this is out of Malaysia. Maybe that was something that you might be interested in, and then you could add in developing countries up at the top if you wanted to. So this is how this works, helping you find more like this research. So now that we've decided that we want to read this, how do we go about doing that? We're going to go over here on to the left side of the screen, and we can see that there's a PDF full text. Since there's a PDF full text, that's what we want to read. We're going to go ahead and click on it, and it will load up the PDF of the article, and you will be able to read it right here. You can see, here's the article itself, and if you wanted to print or download this, you would use this black bar, download it, print it. Now, I encourage you not to use this print option out to the side here, because the only thing that it'll print is this big frame. It won't print the article. If you want to print or save the article, do that within the PDF itself. And a nice thing about the PDF is that if you forget to write down your citation information, you can usually build it from the PDF and see, here's the journal name, the volume issued, the year. Clearly, here's the title of the article and the authors. And then you're going to have your page numbers. So you could do that. So sometimes you will see that you can read the item in HTML text only. And that is really just the text on the screen. So that one will not have the page numbers. So it's very hard to quote from. And it will not have any charts, graphs, pictures, tables, any of that like the PDF will. So make sure that you, if at all possible, get the PDF if you can. Okay, so we've looked at this article. I'm going to go ahead and get us back to our results list. And I'm just going to do that by using this blue bar here. It says results list. I'm going to click back. And okay, let's look at number 2, because you can see it says find it. That means we don't have the PDF because we were using number 1 and there is the PDF. So it is an option that you don't have to get into the record itself, but I like to do that so I can see those subject terms. And I'm going to click in here into this record, and we'll see that there's no find it for it. So I'm going to go ahead and click on find it. Now this find it is our links resolver, and it is going to find this article in any other collection that we might have for us. It will either land us into the PDF itself, or it will land us on a screen where we will have different options to use it. Or in this case, look, it has landed where we do not have any full text, so we will need to request it. And so I'm going to click request it. And this will open our document delivery account. So let me just go ahead and do that here. I'm signing in with my e-rater. And then y'all can see what my account looks like. So it has pulled in quite a bit. It is supposed to pull in everything, like the journal title and all this information here. But it missed the journal title and the year. So let me just grab that real quick. Here's the journal title. So the Journal of International Consumer Marketing. I'm going to grab that and put it over here. And then the year is 2017. So I'm just going to drop that in here. And then now I could go ahead and submit request. And it would be in my pending request items here. So here's the article we just requested. If this is your first time to use document delivery, I will show you how to set that up in just a second. But while we're in here, let's talk about a few things. So anything that can be delivered electronically will come to you in about 48 hours, sometimes a little less, but definitely within 48 hours during the business week. So here it is. Let's pretend we're putting in a whole bunch of requests on a Tuesday morning. Well, definitely by Thursday, we will be able to read those, Thursday afternoon. But if we put in a whole bunch on Friday afternoon, then they will not be there waiting for us by Sunday. It will be Monday or Tuesday before we get those. So think about your research and figure out when is the best time for you to do your research so that you can meet your deadlines for your papers and your projects. The other thing is you can also see you can request books. And if you request a physical item that has to be shipped to us, like media also is a physical item, then that takes usually about 7 days, because the other library, we have to ask the other library if they're willing to lend it to us for you. They'll ship it to us, and then we have to notify you to come and get it, and then you will come into the library and get it. So it does take about 7 days. So if there was something that you wanted to use in your paper or project, but you realize, oh, I've waited too late, I can't get that book in time. So I always encourage you to do your research at least 2 to 3 weeks out, if at all possible. So if I get an email from document delivery, then they would say, oh, your item is ready to be picked up and you're electronically received. So I could just come in here and click on this button, and then I can see all the PDFs that I have. I'll just open one so you can see what it looks like. So here it is, and I can read this right here on the screen, or if I wanted to download it or print it, however I'm going to store my research, it is here for me. And I'm going to go ahead and click back, and back again. And then if I had items that were actually a physical item checked out to me, I could click here and I could see it. So I do have one book that is checked out to me right now, and I got it in August, and I will have to return it by November. And that is something that I do not, that the Texas Tech Library does not get to determine this due date. It's wherever the library comes from. So sometimes that library will let you have it for 3 weeks. Sometimes the lending library will let you have it for 5 weeks. Sometimes they'll let you renew it. Sometimes they won't. But it is not up to Tech, because we don't own that item. It is up to the library that lend it to us for you. Okay, let me go click back one more time. And now you can see where my pending requests are. And so again, that's our article that we just requested. And I'm going to go ahead and close this. So now I'm back on my request screen, our links resolver screen. So I'm going to close that. And now I'm back into the databases. Let's go ahead and look and see if we can see one more that will show us where there's some multiple options. I'm going to try number 4 and see what we get. So again, we're on our links resolver, and it's looking to see if we own it anyplace else. Oh, this is perfect. So this is a screen that is the third option, where we might have it in multiple collections. So we have this item sitting in each of these, and it doesn't matter which one you pick. And sometimes there's 3 items listed here. Sometimes there's 10 listed here. So you can pick whichever one. As you start to do this a little bit more, you'll know which ones you like better. I'm going to actually use this emerald. I like how it displays the article. So I'm going to go ahead and click that. And now this will either land me into the PDF itself or into a screen where I have to find the PDF. And so it landed me into the table of contents of the right volume and issue, but I still have to find the right page number or the right title. So I'm just going to go back and let us remind everybody what our article is. Measuring Consumer Perceptions of Online Shopping Convenience, and it is on page 191. So let's go down to 191. So I'm looking at these page numbers here. Here we are, and then I could click on the PDF itself, and it will load up, and again I could download it or print it, however I'm storing my research, because now I found the article. Okay, I'm going to close this. And I'm going to close the emerald, and now I'm going to close the links resolver screen, so I'm back on my database. So that is a lot of information that we just kind of covered there. I hope you kind of learned how to use a database and how to change some things up. Let's go ahead and close this database, and we're back on our page that I created for hospitality and retail management. One nice thing that I like to cover before we start talking about EndNote is how to make Google Scholar work for you. So I'm just going to open another tab so y'all can see me do that. I'm actually going to type in Google Scholar, and I'm going to click on Google Scholar. And then over here where we have the 3 lines, the little hamburger for more, I'm going to click on more, and I'm going to get it down to settings. Now I happen to be in Chrome, and I think Firefox is slightly different, but look for the settings is what you need. And then I want to make sure I'm looking for library links, and I'm going to type in Texas Tech here. I'm not going to put in Texas Tech University because for some reason it doesn't work right. So I'm going to search for Texas Tech, and then I'm going to click on this first one is what I want to highlight. Texas Tech University full text at TTU Live. The other ones I don't have privileges at. So Health Science Center and the law school, you can walk in and use those materials, but you cannot use the full text finder for those materials. So I'm going to go ahead and click Save. And then now I'm going to run a similar search to what we just did in the database. So let's look up consumer behavior. And then you can see out here to the side, whenever you see those full text at TTU Live, you can click on that. And look, it's our links resolver screen. So now we can find this article that we were looking at on Google and just follow it through like we have been doing from the database. So if we wanted to look at information consumer behavior journal, we could find it. Now, sometimes you're going to see these options where it doesn't look like there's a full text option. But if you click on this double chevron, it also means more. So I'm going to click on that, and then you'll see this little Get It at TTU. I'm going to click on that, and it will get me to the links resolver screen so that if I wanted to request this item, I could do that. Or if it was on the shelf upstairs, I could go upstairs and grab it from the stacks. So I'm going to click back. And so then that is what the difference is in the full text and the little Get It. Get It usually means we do not have a full text, but you can request it. Full text usually means you can request it. Of course, if you see a PDF from JSTOR, you can read it automatically, so feel free to do that as well. And then if you have any questions about this, let me know. I really like doing this, especially if a professor says, hey, you should read this article, and they just give you the title of the article. You don't really know where that came from, and you would have to maybe dig in several databases. If you put the title here, most of the time it'll find it in the right database, and then you can pull it straight up. So instead of looking in 2 or 3 places. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and close Google Scholar. And the information about Google Scholar is sitting right here. And let's talk about a few other databases. Business Source Complete looks very much like hospitality and tourism. This is a search interface. So if you're actually looking for company profiles or industry profiles or marketing research reports, you can get in here and play around. Unless you're really in a Pacific class looking for that information, I don't think it is necessary. I really like Merchant Online and Hoover's company profiles. Of course, you can only find public company information. Private companies don't have to share their information. So let's look at one of these. I'm just going to open Merchant. I kind of like it a little bit better than Hoover's. Okay, so here we are in Merchant Online. Let's go ahead and just drop a company in here. I'm just going to grab Nike real quick. And so you can put in the name, or you can put in the ticker name if you know that one of the company. So it found Nike, and I'm just going to click on it. And so this is all the information that we know about Nike. So right here on the front, it gives you like a snapshot. So key executives, key financials, business summary, pricing, what is happening in the industry here over the past couple months. And you can kind of look around company news. But then all these little tabs have information, and these big tabs have information. So if I went over to competitors, it would load up a new screen. It's taking a second. And then I can look at the competitors here and competitors news. And then company financials. I can see a more detailed company financials, and if I wanted to do analysis on that, I could click on the analysis and it would pull that information up. Or we could go back to where we started, which was company details, and then you can look at the history of the business, and it'll tell you the whole history here, and then some additional information. It'll tell you the subsidiaries. So there's lots of good information. Just feel free to dig around in here. It's very useful to download into a spreadsheet if you needed to drop it into a PowerPoint. So feel free to do any of that if you need to. Okay, so I'm going to close this. And then I think we're about ready to get into EndNote. So I'm just going to open a database. Let's grab Business Source Complete. And we can start talking about EndNote. I'm going to pull up the spreadsheet for, the handout for EndNote. And so we will both set up web and desktop today. And then here's some quick tips to do all of that. I'll show you quickly how to do that. Plus there is step-by-step instructions here. You can see this is like 4 pages of information. How to get a citation out of Google Scholar. How to get it from PubMed if you needed to know that, although y'all's area you probably will not. How to make sure you have the Cite While You Write plugin. How to use that in Word. And then how to format some things in your account. And then how to sync the EndNote software program with your online program. So we'll get all that started this morning. Okay, so setting up EndNote. Let's go ahead and get into Clarivate and log in and start a EndNote online if you haven't done so already. I'm just going to grab another tab. I'm going to type in my EndNote web. And then it'll take a second for it to load up. I'm going to open my account. Please use your TTU email account. That will give you privileges that another email address will not. And then, the password for this one. I think it's this. Let's see if I am right. And now I'm going to sign in. Now, if this is your first time to be using this, make sure you use this sign up right here. Don't sign in with your email. It won't know who you are. And this password is not your e-rater. Make sure it is something else because your e-rater will change in 90 days and this will never change. So just make sure if this is your first time, sign up here. If you do have a sign in, don't think that it's your e-rater. It's another password. So I'm going to click sign in and you'll be able to see my online EndNote account. Okay, here comes my account loading up. So you can see here I have quite a few citations pulled in here. I have lots of different groups over here, and you can make all that. We're going to use this handout. Oops, sorry, got on the wrong one. We're going to use this handout to just really go down the list, and I will show you that. So we have our online account set up. If you need to download the desktop version, which I strongly encourage you to do so, you would need to do that from the library website, which the handout tells you to do that here. So as library webpage, look for EndNote on the right menu. If you have problems downloading the program, contact me. I'm happy to help you troubleshoot. And so let's look at how to do that. I'm going to just open the library website. It is on the right here. So I would click EndNote. Although I have EndNote already installed, so I'm not going to go through the steps. You would sign in with your e-rater. Let me see if it will let me see the next page with that. Yeah. And then you would pick either Windows, download, install, or Mac, depending on your system. Windows, you have to do a specific step. You have to do this extract all, or you're going to have a problem. So if you did it and you did not do the step of extract all, and you're having a troubleshooting problem where it's not working right, go back, uninstall, and extract all, and then do it, and it should load appropriately. I know when EndNote 9, I think, has just come out. We do not have that set up yet on the library website, but we should probably sometime this semester. A lot of these things, these steps, will probably help you with EndNote 9, but I am still using EndNote 8 at the moment. Okay, let me go ahead and open my EndNote 8 as well. Let me see if I can find that real quick. Yep, and I'm going to open that so we can bounce around together with all these different tabs and programs. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and close this window. See here in my EndNote that I opened, this is a desktop version 8. Here are all my references, just like online. I have 1103. I have the same here. I'll show you how to set that up as well. If I'm looking here, I can change the layout. I like the bottom split. You don't have to do that. But if I was in one that had a PDF attached, then I could look at it. And I can make notes over here by using the highlighters, the different tools. It'll allow me to make a comment. It'll allow me to highlight things. It'll allow me to do whatever. And so I kind of like to do that. And then I have the record of this article on the left. Okay, so back on our online account, let's open our handout. Oops. Let's get our handout, and we can see we've done the first two things to open both the web and the desktop version. You can only use the web if you want to. It allows you to use, I think you can store up to 10,000 citations, and it will allow you to add some journal articles if you want. So we need to set up the databases in EndNote Web, and I'll show you how to do that. You just need to follow these steps, and then we'll also cover bibliography in EndNote Web, and we'll follow these steps. So let's go ahead and get on that. We're going to go to collect, and then you have to slide over here to import references. That's kind of tricky. You don't want to be in the online search. Some people land there. You need to be over into import references. And then you're going to set up which databases you're going to be using. So I'm going to click on the select favorites. Now when I click on the select favorites, it will bring up a box that you cannot see, and then you cannot see the select favorites anymore. So just remember, you're going to be clicking on select favorites, and then now you have the box. So I have put over here the databases that I use to pull in records, because remember, databases store their title and year and author all in different locations. And this is what's telling EndNote how to make sure that the author stays in the author spot and the title stays in the title spot, so that it knows how to read that citation. So you can find over here, if you're not sure what you need to be using, I would automatically ask you to use Academic Search Complete. Let's see here. And we have that one, and it's a very basic one. You can find a lot of information in there. So you can see that I copied it to my favorites. It's over here. All you have to do is highlight it, then click copy the favorites, and then I'll put it on this side. And then let's make sure that we have EndNote import That will allow us to use it for Google. So I'm just going to type END real quick, and that will get me down to EndNote. I'll highlight it, copy it, put it over there. Then I have a few business ones here, an agricultural one, art and architectural. Article first is not a bad one to use, although not very many here use it, but I like to use it to do librarian stuff, find some deep dark articles there. Sometimes Business Source Complete, that's the database we're using currently. Eric is educational. Hospitality and tourism index is in here. JSTOR, Medline, and PubMed. That's Medline and PubMed. PsycInfo, and then make sure you also have this RFM risk over here. And to find the RFM risk, you just have to do REF, and it's right here. And I would copy that to favorites. If you're going to be in Science Direct or Search Index, you can do that. Yeah, this one I can remove because it's not even functional anymore. And then the last two are useful as well. These are just big journal databases as well. So I would definitely make sure I had Academic Search Complete right here, Business Source Complete if I was in RHIM, and maybe Hospitality Tourism Index, then EndNote, and then RefMen. So those are the 5 that you need to make sure are put over here. So that is how you set up your import references. Now I'm going to go ahead and set up my format to my bibliography. So I'm going to click on Format, and then I'm going to be in Bibliography. Again, you'll have to click the Select Favorites. Again, it will display the box that is not showing right here. And then you need to pick out your citation styles. So of course, for TTU campus, you need to have APA 6. Most classes write in APA 6. Only if you have a professor that expects you to write in something else do you need something listed over here other than that. Or if you have a journal that you need to be working with, you can find it in here and put it over here. So again, if you needed to find something that was like APA, just type APA real fast, and it'll get you down to the APA, and then you can pick which one you need. Of course, APA 6 is the most current at the moment, so I make sure that that was over. Some of these other examples are Chicago, Harvard, JAMA, if you're writing in nutrition, or Journal of Nutrition. So whatever you need to pull over, feel free to include those over here. I think people that are writing for grants use NIH quite often, or NLM, and then here's regular MLA, and then you can see there's a few other journals that I've pulled over when I've had questions about that from different patrons. So again, just find it, copy it over, and it'll put it into this site, and that will impact what you can see in your words, so you want to make sure you have the ones that you want. Okay, so let's look back at our worksheet. We've done this setup. Now, let's start importing citations from EndNote Web or EndNote. I'm going to actually get into a database. We had opened Business Source Complete. I know that it's Business Source Complete because I can look it up. We opened this a long time ago, remember? And so here we are. I'm going to get into the advanced search like I like to do. I'm going to just do something real simple. Let's just do like retail and consumer behavior and see what we get. Oh, let's make sure we do our peer reviewed, right? That's something we should all be looking for. Okay, so now if I was really doing my research, I would take time and look at each of these articles and determine if that is something that I wanted to include into my resources. But I'm really going to be focusing on how to use EndNote now. So I'm not really going to worry about that too much, but I'm going to click I'm just going to click these first 3 so that I can add them into my EndNote, and you can see how to do that. So when I click on this blue folder icon, it will turn yellow, and it will create a folder view over here and show you that it is sitting in that folder, Now I can do that one more time and you'll see that it changes up here as well. So now I have 2 items in this folder view. I can always look at the folder view by clicking here. If I was digging as I normally would as a researcher, I might actually be inside the record when I decided I wanted to put that into my EndNote. So I could add it right here, add to folder. So then if I go back to my results list, I should see that I have 3 items here, yes, in my folder. Now, unfortunately, this item, the folder only lists 3 at a time, but I could add in another one. It just doesn't change that view, but it will tell you the latest one that you added in. So that is a benefit. And then when you go over to the folder view, you can see all 4. So you can see I have 4 selected here. Now, what I normally do in my research, but you do your research the way you want to, on this page, so if I start doing digging through the results list from a search, sometimes I think at the first, oh, this might have been good, this might have been good, but then as I start really getting into the results, I end up finding better and better ones. So sometimes I reassess this list, like I might have taken this to begin with, and now I think, oh, that's not really what I want. So then I only pick the ones that I really want. So I go back through and pick and choose from this list. But if you know you want them all, you can click all and it will select every one of them. So you can have 20 over here, 30 over here, whatever. So now I've gathered up the ones that I'm going to pick. I'm going to take these 4 and I'm going to put them in my EndNote. So I'm going to export these. And I'm going to export the RIS format, and then I'm going to leave it here at this top one, and then I'm going to click Save. Now because I have my desktop open, I think they'll go straight into my desktop, but if they don't, then I can pull them into my online one. Let's see what happens. So it put it into a folder here, the delivery RIS. So I will just leave that there, and then I can choose to pull that in however I want. If I'm only using my online version, then I would be here. I would go to the collect and import references. I do think I have to open this. Yeah. Let's see. Open. Oh, and now it's letting me choose which one I will do. Since I have them both open, it's probably a little confused. So let's go ahead and put them in my online one and see what happens here. And then it's asking me to sign in to let it know where it's supposed to put these things, these citations. And then it should automatically do it. So let me go back to my references and see if it pulled in those 4. I do not see that it did that. Oh, 4 references exported to myendnote.com. Say OK. So let's see if we refresh that. And they are there, look. So mine was 1103, now it's 1107. You can see that my unfiled number has changed as well. So if we were to look up one of these, I could just go back. So I looked it up with the author and quickly found it. And so I searched it with author unfiled search and it found it. So let's go over to my desktop and see if it has pulled it in over here as well. It does not look like that, so I'm actually going to click the sync button here and it will sync around and everything should end up coming through as well, and it did. So that is how you pull in items online. Let's go ahead and do those same steps again and show you how to pull it into EndNote. If you have it open, you could just automatically use those step-by-steps to come through like we did. Instead of choosing online, we would choose EndNote, just plain EndNote, and it will put them straight in here first. But if you ever had them collected in a delivery risk file, let's go ahead and find some of those. So I'm going to go back to my folders list. I'm going to delete all of these because I don't need to pull those over again. I'm going to go back into my database, and I'm going to skip the first 4 because that's the 4 that we did. I'm going to grab the next 3, let's say. I'm going to go to my folder view, and this one I'm going to purposely send it to my desktop one. So we're going to put export. We're still going to put it in the RIS format. We're going to say save. It has it down here, delivery the 1. So I'm going to click open. Since it's open, I think it's going to force me to do it this way. Let's see what it looks like. So it is pulling it in, and there are the 3 imported ones. Now I would like to show you that without it being open, because sometimes I think that you will be in that situation too, and it's not as intuitive. Of course, you can always open yours and see if it works. But let's see here. So we would import the file, and then we would choose the file from our recent downloads. And you can see here's delivery and delivery 1. I'm just going to click that one for right now. And then we would want to make sure that we were using the RIS reference manager, the RIS file, because that's the kind of file that we have saved them, the citations in. And then you could import, and then it would look just like this. So it would pull in. Let's try that just so that you can see that happening. So I'm just going to go back again and grab 3 more citations. I'm going to get back to my database, and I'm going to get below 7. So I'm going to go here and here and here, and then I'm going to actually, I'm going to quickly close this. And I'm going to close my online account as well, so you can't add them there. So I'm just going to sign out real quick so you can see this step if you need it. And then I'm going to go to my folder view because we already selected our next 3 that we're going to use. We're going to select all of these. We're going to hit export. We're going to leave it in the RIS format. We're going to click save. It will put it in 2. That's right. Now I'm going to open this. Oh, it's still going to ask me to choose my destination, so that's nice. Maybe we will never have to do it the other way. Maybe they fixed that. Maybe I need to change that myself. Okay, let's say cancel. I'm going to force it to allow me to do it a different way. So let me go ahead and open my EndNote again. I'm going to open this one more time. There it comes, sorry. I'm not going to use 9 right now. I'm going to go ahead and cancel this. My library should open. And if I want to, I could import those 3 that we just created here. I would choose my downloads, grab the one that I know I need. I would make sure that it's here to the wrist, and then I would import it. And then it would also come in. Oh, and you can cancel this. And here are the 3 that just got imported. And then I could do something else with those. And I would need to move these 3 around to maybe, let's see if I'll put them in test because I don't really need them. But now they're filed somewhere as well. So we could find them if we needed to. Because a lot of times if you leave it in imported references, then they will not stay there. So just make sure you move them to someplace else. And look at our worksheet. So we just did imports into EndNote and into the desktop EndNote. So EndNote Web and desktop EndNote. I really like that feature, how they're offering you to put it into online or into EndNote. So if I were y'all, I would always just open that delivery system, which one you're going to use, the web or the desktop, and then allow it to pick which one you want, and it seamlessly puts it in there for you. And I can update the handout to reflect that as well. And then let's go ahead and look at import from the citations from Google Scholar. So I'm going to get into Google Scholar. I have it bookmarked here. So let's do the same thing. I'm just going to pull up, what did we say? We said retail and consumer behavior. There it is. Let's see what we can find. So the sad thing about Google Scholar is you can only pull one at a time. So this is not the most friendly situation. Like if I'm in a hurry to find something, I love Google Scholar because then I can find the full text and read it. But if I'm really pulling data into my citations, into EndNote or EndNote Web, then I typically don't use Google Scholar that often unless I can't find that citation anyplace else. So let's pretend that we were going to use this one. This one looks good. I'm going to click on the well, let's make sure that our Google Scholar is set to allow us to import into EndNote. I'm going to click on the burger over here on the side, 3 lines. I'm going to go back to my settings. I'm going to look here at the bibliographic manager. I want to make sure that this says RefWorks. Nope, RefMin. I want to make sure this says RefMin, and then I'm going to click Save, and that will allow us to get to the RIS format. So let's say I wanted this one. I would click on Import into RefMin. It pulled it down into a Scholar RIS format. Then again in EndNote, I would have to pull that in manually. So I'm going to import that file just like we did on the pretend ones that we just did a second ago. In my downloads, it should say Scholar. So I need to look for Scholar RIS. So I wanted you to know this step. Again, I need to make sure I'm in RIS and then import, and it will pull the one in. And there it is. Oop, you can close this. So now I can do something with this one. If I wanted to attach that PDF, let's go back to Google Scholar and find it. It looks like it's in Sage. I'm going to open Sage and see if I can find the PDF. Oh, I found the PDF. I could download it, save it on my desktop or in my downloads, wherever I want to save it. Note what the PDF is called. Then in here, I can click on the attachment and then find it in my desktop, making sure that I'm looking for A. I think it is A37. A37. Okay, let me see if I can find A37, I found it. Put it in here, and here is the PDF. And you can tell it's called Retail Restructuring and Consumer Choice. Retail Restructuring Consumer Choice. So then now I could use, I wanted to read this, I could read it right in the screen. Sometimes I pull this up a little bit more so I can see more of it and less citations. Okay, so that is a bit about getting different types in here. I am not going to cover PubMed in this instance, but here are the same kind of steps for EndNote Web and EndNote, the desktop one. Let's talk about Cite While You Write plugin. So that is how we make it work. So we've got all these citations in here. Now what are we going to do with them? Hopefully we are writing papers with them. So in Word, I'm going to load up Word. We need to make sure that we have this EndNote 8 Cite While You Write plugin put in here. So from our online account, I'll have to sign in real quick again. You want to be able to clean this up a bit while we're signing in. So under the downloads, you want to make sure you've downloaded this Windows Cite While You Write option. Now, I would not get the Internet Explorer plugin. That's just my personal preference. I don't use Internet Explorer, that browser, so I don't need it, but I can do that differently by just opening this. Oh, well, you have to start the, sorry. When you bring up the wizard, just make sure you uncheck the Internet Explorer option plugin. Just make sure you get the Cite While You Write part. And if you get the Internet Explorer, it's not going to hurt anything. I just don't use it that often. So then that will, you'll run that process. It will load it into Word. And then when you open your Word the next time, you can come in here and see that there's a whole ribbon full of information for EndNote. So let's talk about how that's writing. I'm going to go ahead and close my online version now because I don't think we'll need it again. And we'll be just in my desktop version. So it'll be less confusing for the EndNote product. And I'm going to close this because that is that paper we were looking at. I'm going to quickly get us back into our database just so that we will be there in case we should need it one more time. I don't think we will. But, okay, so now what I'm going to be doing is typing a paper. And I'm going to cite something. So I would come into Word, start writing my paper, go to Insert a Citation under the EndNote X8 tab, pull up something. I'm going to pull up motor skills, as I have a whole folder in motor skills, but this looks up the title, the subject, the full text, the group. So you can use whatever whatever you want here. Let's make sure I can spell skills. Click find, and now it's pulled up all these citations. So I just have to find the right citation. I'm going to go with Downs. I'm going to insert it. Before I do, well, I can go ahead and insert that. Oh, it's looking at me. Oh, it's asking me because I made changes to say, no, I don't need to save those changes. So now it should be okay. It is a long annotated situation because I left it on annotated, but I'm going to quickly change that to APA 6. And it's brought it back up to APA 6. It did an in-text citation, so this would be a quote from this paper, and there's the bibliography already created for you. So I'm just going to space that bibliography down a little bit so I have a little bit of space to be writing, and keep going. Now I'm going to do another insert. Let's say I needed atoms here. I'm going to insert that. Now it has it there. I can put my period. It has alphabetized it the way it's supposed to. Let's say I needed to edit something here. I cannot just change it here. Word will not save it. I have to go and edit it over here. So here's my edit. Now if I need to edit the reference, it'll tell me to edit into here, and then I would make the changes. Let's say I know that this issue number is wrong and I need it to be, 5 for whatever reason. Then I can change it here, and then it would automatically save it, and it would change it over here. And I would say okay, and then this would be 5 instead of 4. Okay. Let's see if there's anything else. Let's say you're writing a whole paper, and it's asking me something else. Sure. I'll let that be synced while we're working over here. So it is, let's say you've been writing a whole paper, you've moved things around. Maybe you had downs up here at first, but you ended up moving this sentence below that next sentence, and now you needed to update this. So then you just update the citations. Now, since they're supposed to be alphabetized, it will not do anything down here, but it knows that you move these things around, and it will keep it organized. One thing that we do need to talk about is in preferences here, you can go to application, and right now I'm working with the desktop one. It's just plain EndNote. If I wanted to work with the online one, let's say I'm writing a paper at a conference and I wanted to use the Word there, and I wanted it to let me use my account, I would just make sure the application said EndNote Online. Then I would put in my email address and my password to EndNote, not to eWriter, and I would say OK, and then I would be using my online application and not the EndNote one, not the desktop one. So I would not be working from my desktop, I'd be working from my online web version. So that's why you need to decide how you're going to use your EndNote. If you think you're always going to use your EndNote on the same computer, write on the same computer, research on the same computer, then you may not need the web version. But if you think that sometimes you are going to be working in Lubbock, let's say, or at another location, like my parents happen to live in Colorado, so a lot of times I'm up there, I may sit down and do some research one afternoon on their computer. If I have the web EndNote web set up, then I can do that, and when I get back to my computer in Texas, in Lubbock, then I can sync everything across, and I didn't lose any of that information. Also, I have been at conferences where I sat down and wrote on a paper, finalizing, doing some edits, and I couldn't have done that if I didn't have the online web option already set up. And that allowed me to meet a deadline because I had already scheduled myself to go to a conference when I got accepted for the paper, and then they were saying you need to have it done in like 3 days. Well, I was going to be out of town. What was I going to do? So that has saved me. Plus, I had a good friend, a student, graduate student, had her computer stolen. Well, she didn't lose any of her citations and luckily her paper as well, because she had saved the paper in her email so she could pull it up in the email, but she had also saved her citations online and in the web, so she was ready to start writing again even though her computer was gone. So sometimes just having that as a backup is a nice thing. You never know when your computer is going to get a virus, and you will not have your desktop option anymore. So I think that is a good option. But if you know that that is not you, you do what you need to do. And it might streamline it a little bit just using one application. But I just like using both. Okay, let's look at our web handout again. So we just covered Cite While You Write plugin. We showed how to insert citations into Word. We edited the in-text citation. So to format a bibliography, you would follow these steps. This allows you to pull together just a particular group if you wanted to. So over here I have some different groups. Let's say I wanted to just pull this bibliography out. I could follow those steps from the format bibliography and allow myself to create this by picking the right group. Let's see, we said, I think we were looking at parent, yeah. And then I could say how I'm going to have those stored. I'm going to choose APA 6. And then how am I going to put this together? If I just wanted to drop this into a PowerPoint, let's say, go ahead and get the rich text file. If I wanted to drop this on, let's say I created a whole folder of the articles that I have written and I wanted to put it on a website somewhere, I could make it right into HTML and find the folder with just my articles, and then you could see the preprint. And so this is what it would look like, and then I could print this page or copy and paste this page and drop it onto there. Or let's see if we can see the difference here. And then I can save it or email it to myself or print it, whatever I want to do. All right, I'm going to close that. So our worksheet is then telling us, oh, to share information through groups. Let's say you have a group project you're going to be doing, or you're working with a professor on a thesis or dissertation. So in Organize, you can manage your groups, others' groups. So manage my groups. You can identify which one needs to be shared. Let's say I'm going to share that. I'm going to manage sharing. I'm going to add, oh, I'm sharing this already with my email. I'm going to add more. I could put another email here. So if I wanted to put it into my other account, my ttu.edu account, or I wanted to share it with a professor, I would put theirs. Just make sure you separate by returning the addresses and then adding the next. And then you have the option of read only or read and write only. So read only allows them to look in that folder. Read and write allows them to add and delete from there. So make sure you know what you are sharing with, who you're sharing it with. So under all my references, or maybe under the unfiled, I could click under the unfiled and then select, 3 or 4. As you're pulling things in, you usually file them. So I'm going to add them to a group. I'm either going to pick a group, or I can go all the way to the bottom and create a new group. And when I create a new group, it allows me to type the name. So we might do test. I might do TTU test because I have lots of testing items here, and then I'll say OK. And if we look down here, the TTU test has the 3 items that I just selected. You can have these in more than one folder if you wanted to, needed to, for whatever reason. So, okay, let's look at our worksheet and see if there's anything else that we needed to do that. It tells you how to share information. Oh, let's sync EndNote. So let's get into EndNote and show you how to sync that. So from Preferences, you would come over here, find Sync. You would click Enable Sync. You would put in your email address for your EndNote web. You put in the password for your EndNote web, not your Raider link. Make sure that the sync automatically is checked. So every time you launch the desktop one, it will sync with your online one. Once you do that, you'll have to click Apply, click OK, and it will sync. And a lot of times it will blink a couple times if it's doing some syncing. So just be aware of that. I'm going to get up into my All References real quick. Maybe look in here. And then we showed you, oh, sometimes this is important. When you first download EndNote, a lot of times you will be in a file thing that looks something, no. It is all gray and you can't see anything. So what you need to do is file new, then say, okay, let it save it wherever it's going to put it, wherever you want to store it, and say, okay, and then it will turn on all these buttons. So that is something that is useful to know right from the beginning. Oh, and then this is really useful to use it to find the full text. So let me show you how to do that. From our desktop version again, the full text is available in the online version. You just click find full text in the link in the record. But here it will pull it down if it can find it. So under preferences, again, we're going to look for find full text. We're going to check all of these, and then we're going to make sure we put in the open URL path and the URL authentication, and that is listed here in our worksheet right here, and it has to be written exactly like this with a question mark at the end and exactly like this with the equals at the end, or else it won't work. And then you're going to say automatically invoke full text on newly imported references. You'll click apply, you'll click OK, and then as you pull in things, it will start to look for those items, and if it finds it, it'll just put a PDF next to it. So then it will come over here. Of course, I showed you how to add a PDF if you have it already and it didn't find it, so you could just add the attachment like we showed you at the beginning or near the beginning of this video. Okay, I think we have covered everything. Of course, my contact information is at the top if you get stuck. I'm happy to walk through anything with you. If I'm ever green on Skype for Business, if you use that, feel free to IM me. I'm happy to share my desktop with you if need be. And then my email is there and my phone number is there. So feel free to reach out any way you think is appropriate. Okay, so that is EndNote in a nutshell. I hope you learned a lot today, a little bit about EndNote and a little bit about the databases and the resources that the library has to offer to you. Thank you. Bye-bye.